Hi, friends. Max Elhaj here. On this episode of the Corpus Animus podcast, we have training think tank athlete Lauren Fisher. You guys probably all know her. I learned more about her in this 1 hour podcast than I probably knew about her from our 2 months working together. Listen up and listen up. That's it. That's all I got. That's the end of it. Listen up. Train along some of the best athletes in the world at the sport of CrossFit. To get a free sample week of our current training cycle, head over to trainingthinktank.com/DSGN.
Your mom's bad with names.
Yeah, so my mom's bad with names. She can't pronounce names.
She's going to listen to this and feel bad about it.
Oh, she's probably going to laugh. She's going to be like, oh, sis. She calls me sis. She'll say something funny.
She calls you sis?
Yeah.
Has that just been a nickname forever?
I don't know, just because I'm like her little sis. And I told this to Alexis. I was like, probably on the ruck run, my mom would be like, go sis, go. And Alexis was like, oh my gosh, my mom says the same thing.
No way.
So her mom calls her sis too. I'm like, I feel like there's some mutual connection. I feel like Alexis and I are almost the same person a little bit sometimes.
Kind of like you don't have any sisters, right?
No sisters.
And you both live together in the same house.
Yeah.
Is Perrin like a second mom or a second sister?
Basically, I feel like almost both. Second mom, second sister. Perrin's been amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Lauren, welcome to the podcast. Perrin, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
I didn't invite you, but I'm just kidding.
That's my fault. My bad.
Yeah. So you moved out here in, what was it? Right after quarterfinals. It was like the
Literally,
day after
like,
quarterfinals.
It was the week after quarterfinals. Let's get
Oh, yeah.
let's get this straight now. It doesn't matter.
Be more clear with your
day
words.
or week after. Literally, I think right after quarterfinals, I moved out here and I've been here since. So I haven't been home in San Diego for 2 months,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah. So you moved in with Perrin. Perrin was like, yeah, she could live with me. I was like, all right.
I feel like it all happened so quickly. I was like texting Noah about coming out here, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, he was connecting me with you, Max, and we were on the phone.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm messaging Perrin for a place to live. I didn't even know Perrin. I had to ask Noah. I was like, is Perrin a cool chick? Like, I don't really know this girl.
Moving into a crazy person's house.
Yeah, and Noah was like, Perrin's the best. She's so awesome. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take your word for this.
I have a pro tip for you with Noah. Never take he likes everyone.
Yeah, but
So
then I'm starting
he just
to
happened
realize.
to be lucky.
Yeah, Noah likes everyone, as I've come to realize. So he could have said that about anyone, and she could have
serial killer.
She could have
Noah's in there eating breakfast with him.
She's fine.
Yeah, literally.
Some dead people on the floor, but she seems like a nice person.
Yeah, so I had to ask Noah, but note in self, don't ask Noah for anything. And then, I literally I bought a plane ticket, and I was like to Rasmus, I guess it's happening. Like, I just bought a plane ticket. I'm going out to Georgia, and he came out with me, and literally it just all happened so quickly. Knew no one but Noah.
Yeah.
And I barely even knew Travis a little bit, obviously from competitions. And then I didn't know Alessandra, so I had messaged her that I was coming out, and she was like super excited.
Oh, she needed that.
Yeah.
She needs like another
It's a
girl.
boys club here.
Yeah, the way that the training environment molded, it was like Alessandra came out here and was already pretty quiet naturally, and it was all just these loud male personalities. She was like in the corner. I was like, we need more elite females here.
Yeah, so
and it just happened to work out.
I think she was really excited to have me out here, and then I came out here, and then before you know it, Alexis moves out a week later. I didn't even know Alexis. She moves into the same home as Perrin, and my parents like, hey, do you mind if this other girl Alexis comes into the house? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, what else can I say?
No.
Yeah. And then Alexis moves out here, and then before you know it, we had like Jordan Adcock out here, Caroline Dardini, and it became like a girls' club over like boys, and it was really fun.
Yeah. All right. So that's the present moment. I want
Yeah.
to rewind time. So people have asked in the comments pretty much since they saw your picture out here, they wanted to know your story and hear about your CrossFit journey. All I know is you started sports basketball when you were young.
Yeah. So I've been doing sports my entire life. Literally did any like swimming, basketball, gymnastics, softball, tennis. So I played all type of sports growing up. I told you this yesterday, Max. I was 10 years old. I had my own personal trainer. I don't know if a lot of you know, but University of Pacific in Stockton, California, they had like a little like training facility. And so me and my brothers, we went to go train with a personal trainer. We would do parachute drills, ladder drills, just some like basic strength work at 10 years old. And my dad also, he was super competitive and doing a lot of the workouts on Men's Health magazines. And so I would always jump in with him on the workouts for Men's Health. And he actually had me do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups every single day. And I actually got a little like stipend from it. It was like if I hit, nice. I would like check off on a calendar if I did my 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups, and I got paid for it.
So you were a professional athlete at 10.
Yeah, basically. When I was 10 years old.
Crushing sit-ups.
Yeah, crushing sit-ups. I actually did over 100 push-ups unbroken. Like, yeah. So it started really young and then got into high school, still playing basketball. I wanted to go on to play in college, go on to the WNBA, and I started training at CrossFit 209 in Stockton with Gabe Subry and Vince Carter. Because of my two brothers.
Wait a minute.
Vince Carter. Yeah, not the basketball.
Not Vince Carter, the basketball player. And actually, funny story about that. My brothers were like, hey, come train with us. We're going to train with Vince Carter. I was like, Vince Carter, the basketball player? And they're like, yeah, Vince Carter, the basketball player. I get there. I was like, it's not Vince Carter, the basketball player.
Wrong dude.
Yeah, wrong dude. But
I have a friend who used to be his chef. That's the closest I got to him.
For real?
Yeah. Shout out Brandy.
Yeah, that's funny. So anyways, I went out there and I was literally just training with all the boys. I felt like every single day, it was like me and 10 football players training every single day. Did so many like box jumps, back squats, deadlifts. I actually did not start out like clean and jerking and snatching until maybe like 3 years later. Cause I kept telling Vince, I was like, I don't want to get like too bulky and too muscular for basketball. And Vince was like, okay, Lauren, but you're not going to get too bulky and too muscular. And I was like, I don't want to do it. So I didn't start like snatching and clean and jerking until like 3 years later. So I was just doing basic stuff. And then literally 2012 or 2011, my junior year of high school, is when Gabe Subry came up to me and was like, hey, Lauren, like, I think you have the potential to go to the CrossFit Games one day. I think you can be as good as Julie Fouché, Camille. I like had watched these like muscle up videos of Camille. Like I idolized her, like so many of these big girls. And I was like, really? Like me? Like you think I can be as good as these girls? He's like, yeah. He's like, I want you to start like coming during the summer and training with us. So I got invited to train with like the top guys at CrossFit 209. I was like so excited. So literally that's my summer. Like I spent training 2 hours a day though. It wasn't like double sessions back in my junior year of high school. And then I went on to compete at 2012 regionals. I took 12th. I was like the young 17-year-old girl versus like these top well-known people, Jenny LaBaugh, Annie Sakamoto, like all these OG athletes who probably Alexis Raptis doesn't even know who these girls are. And so I took 12th place and that was kind of when the fire was lit. And then
hold on, how old were you then?
17 or 18, senior year of high school.
Oh, cool.
And that's when I actually met CJ Martin at that regionals, and Gabe had introduced me to CJ, and he was like, hey, Lauren's this young athlete. She's coming out to San Diego, needs a place to train. And CJ was like, yeah, she's more than welcome to come out here. And so literally.
Hold on. Pause.
Yeah.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for 2 months.
2 months. All right. 2 months, right? You ever go to like, you have a water hose back in the day, like at the garden, you're watering your garden outside. You ever like take the water hose and like bend it and like the water can't come out and your hose is like no water's coming out and then you let it go and it's just like, I feel like that is what's happening right now.
Why?
2 months, you haven't said shit. You're like the most professional person in the gym. You just get to work and do whatever. And then right now, we don't even need these people. You can do this podcast by yourself.
I was thinking about it. She was going to tell the whole story. And I was like, I'm just going to patiently wait for her to finish. And then when she finished, we're like, all right, well, there's her whole story. Thanks a lot.
The podcast is over. We're done.
I love it though.
Yeah.
Continue.
Hold on. I actually did want to cut you off, but I didn't want to cut you off.
Okay.
You talked about like 1,000 different things.
I know.
So.
I basically tried to give you my life story in like 5 minutes.
It's good. So your whole family, I know Garrett was a games athlete. Was he in CrossFit before you got into CrossFit? Were your parents into CrossFit?
So Garrett got in, well, he was into CrossFit 2 weeks before me. And then it was actually my brother Ryan and my brother brother Garrett. So I grew up with 3 older brothers, Andrew, Ryan, and Garrett. Youngest girl and a family of 4. As you can imagine, that's kind of why I'm super competitive and I won't take anything from anyone. Like that just started from a young age. Literally, we'd be playing like a game of Monopoly or Marco Polo, and like we would all just go at it, and we would like call each other out. I'm like, you're cheating. They would be like, no, you're cheating. And then,
shit! If you're getting competitive Marco Polo,
yeah, literally, I'd be like, your eyes are open on Marco Polo, and they would always say. Then I would cheat. Literally, I was like thrown in the bushes when we were playing basketball, and I think that's kind of how it all started. Like I would go into my mom. I'd be crying and I'd be like, they threw me into the bushes, and my mom would be like, well, you either need to like wipe your tears and go back out and play with them, or you can stay in here with me and keep crying. And then I would just like wipe my tears and I would go back out and play with them. And so that's kind of
this is my favorite podcast.
So that's kind of like where it all started. Yeah. So Garrett competed at the CrossFit Games in 2013, which I actually competed on the team as well, Team Invictus. And then Garrett, he went on. He took 5th place, and everyone knew my brother. Everyone knew my brother Garrett Fisher. So that's kind of where the name Little Fish started, because I was like, Little Fisher, Garrett's younger sister. I remember in 2013, they just kept saying like Garrett's little sister. I'm like, I have a name. I'm like, literally, that's all they kept saying. And so, Garrett trained at NorCal CrossFit with Jason Khalipa, and I actually wanted to go to Santa Clara University. I didn't get in, and I was like so bummed because I wanted to go train with Garrett and Jason and Miranda Oldroyd, like the whole crew down there. So I would just take random visits every now and then to go train with them, which I think like helps so much because Jason is just like so knowledgeable. So like I learned a lot from him, and he was pretty funny. There's like some funny stories like training with them as well. Like that's just another story.
No, I want to hear that story too.
It was me, Miranda, Molly Volmer, and China Cho, and then Garrett and Jason, and we were all training. And Jason, of course, does these like crazy EMOMs, and we did this like crazy EMOM with these power cleans, and China, Molly, Miranda, they all like dropped the bar during this EMOM. I was the only person that kept going unbroken. And then after, Jason was like, you guys need to toughen up a little bit more. The only person that went unbroken here was Lauren. You guys need to not drop the barbell. Like I was like this like young 18-year-old girl, and I was like, I'm so glad I didn't drop the barbell. And
so glad you didn't get shamed.
He was like so mad at like Molly, Miranda, and China for dropping the bar. Yeah. But yeah, Jason was really cool. And so long story short, Garrett competed at the CrossFit Games. My brother Ryan actually played professional baseball for the Miami Marlins. He was in the minor leagues but never made it on. And then my brother Andrew's a big triathlete, so he's done an Ironman, he's done half Ironman. Like he's so into running, biking, and swimming. Like he's so good at it. So you look at him, he's like long and skinny, and then like me and Garrett, we're just, we all kind of have very similar like aesthetics and looks. It just really depends how we train. And then my brother Ryan, he did a little bit of CrossFit, but he's always like, CrossFit makes you too like muscular for baseball. I can't really swing when I'm like doing CrossFit. So he's like fully into like bodybuilding and stuff, but he like wants to like get lean now. And we're like, just do CrossFit. Like he like, so he's funny, but all of us have some sort of athletic background. And then we got my mom into CrossFit as well. Like 2 years later, she could barely do like single unders. She could barely jump up to like a 6-inch box. And now she can do like box jumps and all of that.
Very cool.
And then my dad, he's obviously been super active his whole life as well. And he doesn't do CrossFit, but we have a whole home gym. He'll like just casually do like a skier, like a 5K skier, like for time. And I'm like, Dad, you know who does this? Or just like go and row like a 5K. Like he's like, oh, I just like rode for an hour today, or I just like biked. And I'm like, Dad, who does this for fun? Like, so my dad is retired now, and like his like morning is spent, like he'll work out for an hour and then he'll go do sauna, ice bath. And so it's
living the dream.
Living the dream. So it's honestly kind of all like ingrained to me the way my parents were, where my brothers were. And so that's my family in a nutshell.
We're going to have all of your things.
You got any pets?
The family dynamic, were you guys all like just athletic right off the bat, or you guys were encouraged to do athletics?
I don't think we were. think we were all like athletic off the back. Like I think we were encouraged to do athletics, but we were never like forced to do it. And I think it started from my brother Andrew. Like
he's the oldest.
He's the oldest. He was like so hardcore. Just like he would like he played basketball. He would literally have a whole like sheet of like drills he would do before school at 7 a.m. to like perfect his shot and stuff. And then and he would get straight A's and he was like super great in school. And I think that just kind of rubbed off on all the rest of us kids. And so like I just did sports because my brothers did it. And so I would even go to their baseball and basketball practices and like literally like I would be like playing with the boys from like a very young age.
Yeah. When was the transition from, like you said before, your childhood dream was to play in the WNBA and you played basketball? When did you transition to think like, okay, I'm a CrossFit athlete now first?
Yeah. So that happened my junior year of high school. I was starting to get burnt out. So my team, like we won back-to-back state championships. We were actually by ESPN. We were like literally ranked number 1 in the nation. And so it was a very hardcore like basketball team. Like literally our coach wouldn't take anything. I've never like played for a more elite school. Like if you were late to practice, we would be running drills for literally like 30 minutes and you had to hit a certain time. And if you didn't hit the certain time for the Sweet 16, we'd just run it again. And so people were like throwing up. Like it was so hardcore. Like literally if you missed a layup in the warm up, our coach would get so mad. He would like shake his head. And so there came a point when I was just getting like so burnt out with basketball and I came to find CrossFit and I was like, this really fulfills my competitiveness that like I couldn't get when I'm not playing basketball. And I ended up doing a CrossFit competition my junior year of high school, which actually was the same time as a basketball game that was going to be aired on ESPN. We were like playing Bishop O'Dowd or something. And I told my coach, I was like, hey, I want to go to this CrossFit competition this weekend, but I'm going to miss the game at Bishop O'Dowd. He was like so disappointed in me. He's like, you're going to be benched for 2 weeks. He's like, do you realize this is probably going to be the only time you're going to be on ESPN? And he's like, what is this? He's like, what is this CrossFit going to do for you? Like in the future, like basketball is like your life. And I said, I'm going to go do this CrossFit competition. And I did it. And I had so much fun. I was like, this is what I want to do. And I came back and I was benched and I was like so disappointed. I was just like, I'm literally just like, oh, like I'm over basketball. Like I just want to pursue this CrossFit thing. And so that's when the following year competed in regionals, the open. And I just had so much fun. And I was like, I had got some offers from some schools, but I was like, I don't want to go to college to play basketball. Like I want to go to college and I want to do CrossFit. And so that was kind of like the turning point of my career. And it's funny looking back and when my coach had said, like, what is this CrossFit going to do for you? That was almost like a fire that had lit in me. And I wanted to like prove to my coach. And even back in high school, I was made fun of for doing CrossFit. A lot of the guys said I was too bulky, too muscular. They thought I was on steroids. They said like all these mean things to me. And literally no one understood like why I did CrossFit. And now it's just cool to see how much CrossFit has given me. Like I've traveled the world. I've been sponsored by Nike. Like all of these like amazing things have happened because of CrossFit. And I've met so many amazing people. And so it's just like really cool to see how much like it has brought into my life.
You played basketball, which is a team sport. You transitioned into CrossFit as an individual athlete, moved into it as a team athlete, and then did this year again as an individual athlete. What do you like better, or what is it just different depending on the year and the people you're with, or?
It really depends on the year and the people you're with. You never like being on a team where you know there is a weaker link. Like because I just have that winning desire in my mind. Like I literally want to have a team that I know we're going to like put our best foot forward and like we're going to go out there and win. And I know also too individually by myself, like it really just depends on me and my own abilities. And so like you have to love the team you're with. Like you have to sacrifice everything to be on the team. And I think in 2019, when I was on the team with Tommy, Reagan, and Ras, it was probably some of the most fun I've had in a long time. And I think because we were all just almost like family, like we would literally, I mean, there was times when there was tears, we were crying, yelling at each other, but like looking back, it's some of like the best memories being on that team. And I think it also helped that we did really well. And then individually, like I've also had some of the best years of my life as well, competing by myself, but it's just like so different. And I think think for me, the training environment is kind of what makes it everything. And I think the past 2 months here, I've been so lucky to be able to train with Travis and get to know him more, train with Noah, Sandra, and just the whole group here. Like, it's been so much fun. So it almost feels like a family. And when we went out to West Coast Classic and to know that there's like 10 other people, like literally there's so many training think tank athletes there, knowing that like we're all have been in this together, like it was pretty something special. So just, I like both. It really depends on who you're with.
Yeah. Parent, do you have any good stories from living with Lauren for the last 2 months? I feel like you have to be able to have some words on the podcast.
I know. I've just been enjoying
Sorry, I've just been talking the whole time.
No, it is funny though that I feel like Chris's analogy is accurate because she can be very quiet and then we're like explosion of things.
This has all been going on in there the whole time.
I mean, but I didn't know a lot of these things. It was actually funny because her and I and Sandra and Akeem had dinner last night. And both of them were sharing stories. Sandra had a lot of stories. And it's just,
We got to bring her back on to get some of those
That's
stories.
exactly what I said. I was like, you need to do another 1 to 5 more podcasts.
Sandra doesn't know that she's moving here yet.
I know. Well, we tried to convince her again.
Oh, it's happening.
But I mean, living with both of them, I think, has just been an awesome experience. It was kind of weird because I moved here in January. I just started working here.
There was a lot of trust.
Looking for a house, and I moved into my house. And then, like a day later, Jordan and Spencer came to stay with me. They left, and then Lauren came the next day, and then Alexis came the next week. So it's kind of been crazy, like trying to settle into the home.
You haven't lived by yourself.
Didn't you give up your own bed?
I slept on an air mattress for a little while.
Funny story. Perrin gave me her mattress to sleep on. So she slept on an air mattress for like the first week, and I slept on like her mattress.
It's fine.
Perrin is such a mom. She's such a mom.
But no, I mean, both of them, they're just extremely dialed in their habits and their food and their downtime and recovery, and they take it very seriously. Like, I would be like, hey guys, let's watch a movie or something. And they'd both be passing out like 30 minutes into it. Like, okay, it's sweet Saturday night. But I mean, unfortunately, we didn't get too many opportunities, I feel like, to like hang out too much, but we did spend a lot of time together, and they were just really fun.
Too many opportunities to hang out. We had like just a normal like ice bath night every single night where we would hang out. Well, like a normal, I guess you're saying more
normal.
like a
We're not normal.
Like go to the movies.
Normal.
No, there's nothing normal about our night. Like, we would take an ice bath, and then I'd be like, okay, let's go drink tea, ginger tea, and let's take like a 10-minute walk outside to lower our cortisol. And then we would just all be walking around Perrin's yard because you can't really walk anywhere. Yeah, in the middle of the dark. And then we would come back in, and then Alexis and I would be like doing yoga. And we do like Happy's babies pose, and Perrin just like working on her laptop, just like these girls.
I mean,
that's what it takes to be a high-level athlete.
I've said I've always wanted to adopt children because I'm adopted, and I feel like I got an experience, and now I can check that box and move on with my life.
I'm done. I did it.
Yeah.
You competed in weightlifting as well as CrossFit.
Yeah.
What's like how did you pick between the two, and what was like your biggest accomplishment in weightlifting?
So I competed in weightlifting. Man, it's been so long ago. 2014, 2015, I believe. And it was CrossFit came first. And then I actually met this girl, Jess Lucero, who is really big into weightlifting. And she was like, Lauren, like, I think you could compete in weightlifting. Like, she thought like my form on my clean and jerk and snatch was really good. And so she was like, you should compete at junior nationals. And I signed up for junior nationals. Literally had no idea what I was doing when I went to that competition for my first time. And
Like junior nationals was your first competition?
USA, yeah, junior national
Where was that at?
championships. I think it was in Colorado. I don't know if Colorado was the first year or if it was somewhere else, but I ended up taking second place and overall. And I'm like, I didn't even know what I was doing. And then I ended up getting invited to go to the Olympic Training Center for a week and do a week camp, and that was really awesome and really cool. Like, I felt like I learned so much in the 1 week I was there with Zygmunt, the coach, and just like learning like small things I wouldn't have learned if I didn't do it. And so, yeah, I went to OTC, and then after that I was like, I'm going to compete. I had one more year of junior national championships, and so I did it another year, and I took first place overall. I was best overall lifter in like all of the weight classes as well. And that was just so much fun. And then I ended up getting invited to compete on Team USA, the junior team at the World Championships, which was actually the same year as the 2014 CrossFit Games. So I went to Russia like a month before the CrossFit Games in 2014. I competed there. I took 10th place overall. I think I did really well in the clean and jerk, but my snatch has always been like my weaker movement. And then, competed there. I did Junior Pan American Championships, University World Championships. So it was like 2 years where I competed in weightlifting, and it was really hard though to do both CrossFit and weightlifting, because nowadays you literally have to do one or the other. You can't do both. Like the girls in weightlifting have gotten so strong. And so for me,
and the girls in CrossFit have gotten so fit.
Yeah, the girls in CrossFit have gotten so fit. So it's like you can't do both. And I was just like, I really enjoyed CrossFit more than weightlifting. I loved weightlifting because I loved just being able to like go in and try to set a PR and lift as heavy as possible. You don't have to breathe heavy. Like it was just, I'm like, this is so much fun. But then I love the variety of CrossFit. Yeah. And so I ended up sticking with CrossFit and haven't done weightlifting since. But it was so much fun, and I learned so much. And I think it carried over to my background in CrossFit, having that weightlifting background a little bit.
What were your biggest in competition lifts?
I actually clean and jerked 110 kilos, 242 pounds back in 2014. And I think now my max is 111 kilos. And then, snatch, my best snatch was, I think, 80 kilos in competition. So 175.
And what was it in training? Cause you hit a PR in training.
I hit a PR 190 pounds. So I think that was like 86 kilos or something like that. So
what was the time between that PR and the last one you had?
Yeah, so I had been stuck at 83, which is 183 pounds for like, I told you, for like 5 years or something like that. That's all I could hit. And then all of a sudden I come here and 2 weeks later I PR my snatch at 190 pounds. And I'm like, where'd this come from? And
it came from Perrin.
It felt so easy too. I wish we had like 5 more minutes on the clock, because I think I would have hit 195 that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a throwdown, right? It was a handstand walk.
It was row 1K into a handstand walk right after. And then I always snatch better under fatigue. I'm like, I just need to like row and bike beforehand and then go snatch.
Did we get the snatch on tape?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did?
Yeah, you posted it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have a cool reel video. Yeah, you can use.
Scroll down and find it.
Yeah. You can just find it on my IG.
What was your first couple of weeks impression when you came on site and actually got to witness and experience
and be honest as hell.
Travis and Noah?
I was actually, before I got here, I was like so nervous. I'm just like the type of person I get like, I'm like really shy until you get to meet me, and then I'll just like talk your ear off, which is kind of what you guys are seeing, which is what you're seeing on this podcast, I guess. But I was like so nervous before I got here, and then everyone was like so nice and welcoming, and I'm like, I think this is gonna be a fun few months of training. And literally, I think my first impression, like, I was like, everyone said Noah was really late, but literally when we started out, Noah was on time. So I was like, why is everyone saying that Noah Olson is really late? Because he's been on time. Yeah. And
you saw once we stopped the whole group
training kind of went off on our separate like semifinal training pass, Noah was always late. Never, I'm like,
but I heard you have a problem with lateness.
I also have been really late. So when
she said that so shamefully.
I remember when we had that first meeting and Max was saying about like the priorities of the group training and kind of just the goals, and he was like, one of them was like, don't be late. And I looked over at Rasmus and I kind of made a face, and he made a face at me, and Max had known, because after we had met, he's like, I saw you made a face about being late. And I was like, yeah, I'm notorious for being late over at Invictus. And so that was just like one thing.
You and Noah, kindred spirits.
But then I don't know what it was that here, I think it was maybe living with Alexis. Like it just kind of built this new habit and new routine of me being on time. And I'm like, wow, this only took me like 9 years to figure out. Like you need to set the time when you're leaving, not the actual time when you need to be there. And so it's be like, Alexis would be like, okay, we need to leave at 8:15. She'd be like, okay, I'm gonna get up at this time. And I'm like, okay, because usually I think about it like I need to be here at this time, and that's why I'm late. Because I don't
need to be there at 8:15. I'm gonna get up then.
Yeah, I don't like set a time to leave, and so that has really helped. But anyways, boys. Yeah. And then Travis has been hilarious. I have literally never laughed so much with someone. And like, I kind of knew people who said that he was a jokester. And I think Perrin had said, oh, Travis was a little bit nervous. He's not too sure about how to like crack jokes around you. Like he doesn't know what you can take and what you cannot take. And I think immediately when I got there, Travis just started cracking jokes. And it's just been like so much fun.
He's
like,
your biggest advocate.
yeah, he's the biggest advocate for
He's like your manager now.
biggest advocate for Grown Strong. I feel like he can sell anything. He's just like, he's so awesome. And it's so cool. Like he's a family of 4 and they have 3 boys and 1 girl. And I'm like, this is like identical to my family. Like with the 3 boys and 1 girl. So it's just like cool to see like what he's like able to do in the sport despite having a family of 4. Yeah. And then Sandra, like I haven't really gotten to train with her too much until recently. And Sandra also can kind of talk your ear off too once you get to know her. And
I didn't realize this. I understood yesterday when we had our like post-season review. I was like, oh, Lauren talks a lot more than I had thought. And she's got a lot going on in there. Sandra, I had a weekly call with her before she moved here. So I think November until, when did she move here? In the middle of the Open. Yeah. So probably for 3 or 4 months, I had a weekly call with her and Akeem together. We would talk. And I think in that entire time, I maybe heard her say like 150 words. And then Chris was like, hey, we're going to do a podcast with Sandra. I was like, I feel like I'm going to have a hard time like getting enough out of it. We had a podcast.
I knew she was going to talk.
And she like, I was like, what the hell's going on? But this is at least the second time I've realized it.
I call Sandra the Wise. she just has like all this like just knowledgeable, just like you don't really hear it. And then all of a sudden she starts talking and I'm like, wow, you're like so wise and so inspirational. She's awesome. Yeah. So everyone has just been like so amazing here. And it's just, I didn't really know what I was walking into. And I think the coaches too, the training think tank team, like everyone has just been like so welcoming and so nice. So it's just like a really like great experience. And like, I'm excited for like the future ahead.
Yeah. Well, we're still not done with the past. We got to talk about the competition. So our goals this year. Well, do you want to talk about kind of what you had wanted to do?
Yeah, so I guess in our first meeting, I had told Max that my goal was to make it back to the games, to get top 10 at games, and that ended all too quickly this season. But I honestly felt like I was in the best shape. I felt the strongest. Just like overall, I haven't felt this good in a long time. And so I don't think the competition performance really justified kind of what we had been doing the past 2 months. So it's really hard to kind of define one weekend and say this one weekend defines you as the person you are, or defines you as fit enough to go to the CrossFit Games, because I feel like it's so far from it. And there was just like so many hiccups and bumps along the weekend. I think Max got the full Lauren Fisher, because she can be very emotional at times. And there was a whole lot of tears. And I'm like, I feel bad for you right now.
Yeah, she said that. I'm like, don't feel bad for me. I'm like, we need to get through this together.
So that's kind of, it was my goal and it fell short. But I think maybe it was kind of a blessing in disguise, and everything kind of happens for a reason.
Yeah. So the first event didn't start as optimal as we did it in training. We had a training run of it, which was great. Good confidence boost that gone into it. And then you kind of jammed your elbow.
Yeah. So that first event, I felt something weird on the 155-pound snatch in my elbow. And I was like, something's wrong. Like I just knew it. I felt it immediately. And it was like, I knew I'd train it. Literally every single snatch after that hurt so bad. And then I ended up missing one at 165, like lack of focus. And I think thinking about what was going on with my elbow, and I ended up completing the whole thing. But after literally I got done with it, and I think I had like turned to you guys and I'm like, I hurt my elbow. And then great start to the weekend. And then like literally right after that event, I could barely straighten it, and we could barely do like one rope climb in the warm-up area, and the thrusters just hurt so bad. And one workout I was like really looking forward to, because I had done it in practice. I think we had done it on the 15-foot rope in like 5:51, and then I had done it once on the 14-foot rope, and then one time on the 15-foot in like 8 something. And then I was like, I feel like I'm going to be like a whole lot faster in competition, and my elbow just hurt so bad. And I ended up completing in 7:30, which I think was good, but I maybe think I could have been better. And then just kind of like a rocky start to the weekend. And then after that, it was like kind of downhill, just like emotionally, like thinking to myself, wow, you do not expect like everything you had worked for to then all of a sudden kind of fall apart by an injury that you didn't even expect. Like I knew there was going to be some workouts that wouldn't go my way during the weekend, but to have this kind of at the back of my head, and I was seriously an emotional mess. On Friday, Perrin kind of saw it. Like I was just like crying so much. And I think too, like Max, you had told me like you needed to like stop thinking about your elbow and giving power to your elbow. And I think it was really hard to bounce back from that. And then the ruck run. Sorry, I'm just like talking rather than you guys like answering my question. I don't know. I don't even know if you wanted me to go through the whole weekend.
I wasn't thinking of it, but you're already on a roll now.
But anyways, yeah. So the weekend just didn't go the way I wanted.
But you bounced back on day 3 really well.
Yeah, bounced back on day 3. I just kind of came in and just did my thing. And I think that's when I performed the best. I was a little bit upset about the last workout. I fell through the rings at 12 muscle ups and then I missed a clean at 190, but that was a workout I should have won. We did 123 in practice, and then it's a little bit different when you get out there, but I think, end of the weekend still on a high though with that workout.
Yeah. So competition, I feel like a lot of times any competitive athlete, I feel like even me as a coach, I feel pain almost when an athlete is training all year, goes to do something and doesn't have the experience they want to put it into practice. But I feel like also losing helps with teaching lessons about how to become a better competitor or just in life. Like I said it to you at one point in the competition. I wasn't just trying to be an asshole, but I'm like, this is actually making you stronger. Like this is improving your ability to cope with pain and decide and make decisions about health versus performance and understand yourself better. What were like the big lessons that you're going to try to take moving forward as an athlete from the comp? I didn't really ask you this in our actual consult, so now you're on the spot.
Wow, this is a deep question. I think probably the biggest thing is I haven't done an individual competition like this in a while, so understanding that things won't go your way and how do you bounce back from it rather than like thinking all about that last workout. And I think for me, it was really hard to kind of bounce back from that. So learning like, hey, things aren't going to go your way and that's okay. And you just need to keep fighting through it. And so I think for me, just fighting through adversity and things not going your way, I think that's probably the biggest lesson that I learned over the weekend. And then, I mean, honestly, just going in and giving like your best effort in every single workout, and not thinking about outside external things. So mentally, I think there was some things I needed to grow on throughout the weekend. And I definitely learned, mentally, mentally I need to grow a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, you were growing strong.
Yeah, basically.
You're growing stronger.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a grown stronger brand.
Yeah.
And have Travis be my.
It'll be the masculine.
Yeah, the masculine. Yeah. I like that.
Speaking of masculine, did Max tell you that you made him cry?
Did I really?
I did tell you that.
Well,
I did.
You're making me cry.
I was like,
she was like
so emotional and I was crying and Max was like, you're almost making me cry.
Yeah. I've never experienced that before. I don't know if maybe ever, but just, I was in the competition. I don't remember which event it was after. It was just it was obvious to see that the weekend was definitely not going according to plan. And there were some tough situations. There were some things in the competition, some things, personal stuff, all that stuff was just, it was heavy stuff. And you had cried, I think, almost after every workout.
No, I think it was after Saturday, the last workout, because I think finally we were just like kind of talking about the day, and I cried after every single workout, and then I was like, I'm sorry, I keep crying, and then he was like, don't be sorry, you're almost making me cry.
And I teared up, and I was like, that was strange. Did I talk to you about it there?
I mean, you haven't coached this many women before, have you? Like at once?
Definitely not at once. Yeah. And most of my female coaching roster was all remote and not as competitive. I mean, I definitely have had some competitive regional level, and some very close level regional misses, but I think all of the females that we coached were all at the same competition at the same time. It was just more emotion than I was used to dealing with.
And then apparently too, Sandra was saying that she's super emotional as well, but you haven't seen it because she goes back to the hotel room and breaks down.
That's what I was wondering. I actually was wondering that. I was wondering if Akeem deals with that.
Yeah. So I was like, because she's like, oh, don't worry, I cry as much as you do. And I'm like, but we haven't seen it yet. She's like, oh, I go home after the gym and I just cry to Akeem, or at like a competition, she goes back to the hotel room and Akeem sees it all. And I'm like, well, Max really dealt with it with me, so it's good practice.
I know your secrets now, Sandra.
Yeah. We're giving you good practice for when Sarah gets down here too, maybe.
I was gonna say, Sarah's not even here yet.
Yeah, I don't know if she's a crier.
I don't know.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, well, I'll find out. I'll
Be well prepared.
Yeah, I'll be experienced now to stand there and be like,
Well, I think it was kind of funny. The first time you had saw me cry was after, or the day we had done like a heavy clean bar muscle up workout, and I was completely just like bawling after. And I think for you, you were like, you just like patted me on the side. You like didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I didn't. Honestly, that's been one of the biggest assets to having you as part of the coaching, is that there was so many emotions. I don't even know if I'm in touch with my emotions. Like I'm just like constantly just living and trying to figure things out. The girls would break down and I'm like, I'm so glad Perrin's over there right now because I have no idea what to do.
I think there was, I was going to say there was one day, it was like me, I was crying, Bryn was crying, like everyone was crying. We were all just kind of in a corner, just like crying together.
We went on a walk afterwards.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
talked.
yeah.
It's a stressful environment sometimes, and I think everybody has their ways of coping with it. And for some people, just crying is a way to get it out. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I do think it's valuable to like have an outlet, but also in some sense kind of be able to like get yourself back to where you need to be.
It's an interesting, I'm not going to get like too scientific, but there was a Joe Rogan podcast with a Harvard biologist, and they were talking about the differences between males and females. And she was talking about her authority as a professor, and that some of the other professors challenged her because she's so emotional. So she'll just be teaching a topic and crying for no reason. And she's scared that that is going to undermine her credibility. And in her adulthood, she's trying to learn how to deal with that. I do think there might be a difference, because I don't know if it's like I'm callous to those emotions, or just men, not all of them, but a lot of them are taught, especially through athletics, to internalize them, to not release them, to not show the people you're competing that you're in pain. And like, so we just create these like more calloused control mechanisms, whereas females seem to naturally express them, like let them out so it doesn't erode them. It's probably actually a more healthy process.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird
maybe
that water comes out of our eyes?
Yeah,
Just, you know,
and
what?
it comes out with stress hormones. They've actually done research on the composition of tears, that you can actually release stress physically through crying. So I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to show up to a competition soon as an emotional wreck, just crying. People are going to come back to me off the floor, and I'm going to be crying. Give me a hug.
I would love to see that. It was funny. One day, it was me, Noah, and Alexis. We were swimming, and Alexis and I were waiting in the hot tub for Noah to get there. He was like 30 minutes late.
So you're already done with your session?
No, we weren't done with it. We were sitting in the hot tub waiting for Noah. So we were just like warming up, and then Noah, he's like, comes into the hot tub and he like does a big sigh. He's like, he's like, I'm just having a really emotional day, guys. And he's like, I just want to cry, but it's not coming out. And then he was like, kind of everything that was going on with his kidney stones, with his shoulder. And he just basically vented to Alexis and I for like 10 minutes. He's like, thanks for making me feel better, guys.
But I definitely think people need that. And especially as high level athletes, like you were talking to Noah a little about just nerves before a competition. Yeah. And I think that's normal. Like, I think everyone thinks that everyone shows up and they're ready to go and they're going to be a warrior. But I do think the majority of people feel those things. And I actually had an experience with Tracy, one of my master's athletes, her rookie year at the games. She was having a rough weekend, and she got to the point where she felt no nerves, no emotion, and she was completely flat. And her performances from there were just the same way. It was flat.
I've seen that happen to athletes a lot.
Yeah.
I probably get made fun of this. I had an emotion wheel that I got like 5 posters of them.
Oh, it's on the hallway.
Yeah, I think I got like 5.
Max, when you talk to Perrin, make sure you're talking to that mic. There you go. Attaboy.
You'd think I've done this before. And it's something that I recognize. I'm like, emotions seem to be one of the things that gets in the way or helps high level performance. So how do we get better control of it? How do we stimulate them? Like in those situations, Do you guys remember the movie A League of Their Own?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You
great
do?
movie.
Great movie.
No? It's a movie about a female baseball team, and Tom Hanks takes
There's no
over as
crying
the
in
coach,
baseball.
and
I
there's
think I
no
remember
crying in
that, yeah.
baseball. And that whole concept is like, well, which is better for performance? If you're in that moment and she's crying, like being compassionate or being like, stop crying. You just don't really know like what the actual way of like optimizing those things is. I guess we'll all learn it together.
Yes, I think so.
And then like, how do you train that? Because like some of those nerves and competition experiences, you can't train in the gym.
Yeah.
So is it, okay, you just give them, you encourage them to do more competitions, to just see how many scenarios can I put myself in that I can adapt to some of these things that go bad, figure out how to maybe protect myself in a way where you can still stay like in the zone. Like I think for a lot of the struggles that you had, what we were trying to do and having conversations about was like, get you refocused. So it's like, okay, have the emotion, that's fine. But now you need to refocus because you still have 3, 4, 5 more events to go.
I think you did a really good job of that. I mean, there were a lot of external variables, and it's hard to, critics will always say, that people shouldn't talk about afterwards or make excuses about, injuries or because everyone's dealing with something, which I think is true. But everyone who's on that competition floor is also pushing themselves to their limits. So they're all experiencing their limits, which most people don't actually understand because most people aren't pushing their physical limits for months and months and months at a time for this one moment. And that's a hard thing. Also, your friend, I forgot his name, Trevor, you sent me a text message that said,
Make me cry. You read that?
the mental game that comes during game time always impresses me because it's very hard to train for. It's like fighters don't train with broken bones or blood coming down in their eyes when they can't see. There's just no way to really train for that. It's just hard. That's kind of how I feel about competing when you're not in a good state, which I'm sure a lot of people go through, but it's a cool thing that I actually do think just grows people's resilience.
Yeah, I definitely think that we learned a lot, like obviously from the past 2 months, but I think from the one weekend, I feel like you probably learned a lot about me, Perrin learned a lot about me, and I think it's like so great, those learning lessons that we can then take moving forward that we wouldn't have learned if we didn't put ourselves in that position and didn't compete. So yeah, I mean, going into the final day, I even told you, I was to the point I was like, I didn't even know like whether or not I could still like compete. And you're like, let's just go out there and learn from these like next 2 workouts. And I feel like we did. So yeah, it's all good learning lessons.
So that's your whole story, start to finish. We extended it. If left up to you, we would have been done 30 minutes ago because you got it all out really quick. Yeah. But we tried to pull it out as long as we could. Chris, we got any other questions?
Actually, one thing I was thinking, out of your whole career, do you have a favorite event throughout the games, regionals, anything?
Favorite event? I think 2014, the speed clean ladder. That was by far
at the games.
At the games,
they had like it was multiple.
It was like
rounds
multiple
too, right?
rounds.
Yeah.
Like you literally, it was like 5 barbells, and you were basically whoever was the fastest made it onto the next heat. So it was like bracket style or whatever. And I made it onto the last one with all the girls. That was just like so much fun. You don't get better than something like that. I think the crowd just loves heavy lifting, and the energy with that is like literally like no other in the tennis stadium. So definitely speed clean ladder.
Mike had a really good point. When we went to I think it was, we were sitting at Granite Games, and he's like, at a CrossFit event, they've never had the finale be a 1 rep max lift. But I think it would be cool to go through, like if you just took the Granite Games max snatch, and instead of having it be the first event when everyone's fresh, you just move it to the end of the weekend. And it's just, you got to lift to get in. As heavy
as possible.
Yeah, to get in.
Wow, that would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be an interesting way to end a competition because it's almost always been, or not always, but at regionals been like a short, fast sprint style workout. Or I think it would be boring to be like a 20-minute AMRAP to finish, but a lift might be a cool way to go out.
Yeah, that would be a really cool way to go out. Yeah.
Anyways.
What's the station that plays all the hits?
I still don't know here in Georgia.
Where can people find you?
Where can people can find me? Yeah. Well, they can find my Instagram at Lauren Fisher. I also have my own website, lauren-fisher.com. They can also learn more about my own personal brand, Grown Strong, at Grown Strong, and then grownstrong.com.
What does Grown Strong do?
Grown Strong is a company that empowers women to be strong and confident, like in all aspects of life, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. We offer fitness programming. We just came out with a new GS Go timer.
That's the little magnetic timer.
Yeah, superfoods powder.
And it's got the loudest beep in the market.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Superfood powder. So basically, we want to give all the tools to help be successful in life. Not so like a one-stop shop for everything you need for your fitness needs. And we target women and empower them. And I think we have a really cool community. So that is what Grown Strong is all about. So if you want to learn more about it, head to grownstrong.com. Grown Strong, as Travis says. And yeah, at Lauren Fisher.
Cool, thank you.
And go in the comments and convince Lauren to come back as much as possible to train.
Or convince me to move here.
That too. All right, thank you.
Cool,
Thank you.
Thank you.